What really happened to the Black Dahlia? The enduring mystery of Elizabeth Short. The Black Dahlia, a Hollywood nightmare. The morning of January 15, 1947, began with the deceptive tranquility of a clear Lowe's Angels Day. A chill, uncharacteristic for Southern California, clung to the air, sharpening the contours of the budding promise that was post-war America. In Leimert Park, a meticulously planned community of manicured lawns and nascent aspirations, Betty Bersinger, a housewife, walked with her 3-year-old daughter. The routine was familiar: a stroll down Norton Avenue, past the nascent construction and the quiet hum of suburban life. It was a picture of serene domesticity, moments before it would be violently, irrevocably shattered. Her gaze, perhaps idly scanning the roadside, fell upon something peculiar in a vacant lot near the sidewalk. At first, it registered as a discarded mannequin, perhaps a prop from a burgeoning film set or a prank. Its stark pallor, the way it lay oddly twisted amidst the weeds and dry earth, suggested an artificiality that momentarily shielded the mind from the truth. She nudged it with her foot, a common enough impulse when encountering urban detritus. What she encountered was not plastic or wood. It was cold. Too cold. And utterly, unnervingly still. The mannequin, upon closer inspection, revealed itself to be the grotesquely mutilated body of a young woman. Her face, drained of blood, was framed by dark hair, stark against the pale skin. Her body, pale and almost ethereal in the morning light, had been severed with surgical precision at the waist, bisected into 2 distinct halves. The upper torso, arms outstretched as if in a macabre embrace, lay meters from the lower half. The internal organs, though not visible, had been removed. And then there was the mouth. Carved into a chilling, Jokeresque rictus, a grotesque mockery of a smile stretching from ear to ear. The raw, exposed flesh seemed to scream in the silence of the park. Betty Bersinger didn't scream. She picked up her daughter and ran. The discovery was not merely shocking. It was an amputation of Lowe's Angels' post-war innocence. This was a city brimming with optimism, a magnet for dreams and ambition, flush with returning soldiers and the promise of a glittering future. Suddenly, the shadows beneath the palm trees seemed darker, deeper. The news spread like wildfire, a malevolent ember fanned by the burgeoning tabloid press. Photographs, initially censored, then partially released, scorched themselves into the public consciousness. A young woman, once full of life and hope, reduced to a spectacle of unimaginable horror. Within hours, the vacant lot transformed into a grim tableau of official activity. Squad cars, plainclothes detectives, forensic experts, primitive by modern standards, yet diligent, swarmed the scene. The air, once crisp, now carried the metallic scent of blood and the acrid tang of fear. The nascent glamour of Hollywood had found its inverse, a nightmare unfolding in the mundane light of day. And as the city collectively recoiled, a single, terrifying question began to echo in every home, every diner, every whispered conversation. Who was she? And who could commit such a monstrous act? Her identity, soon confirmed as Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress, only deepened the chilling narrative. But it was the nickname bestowed by the voracious press that truly cemented her legend, the Black Dahlia, a moniker that evoked a dark, fragile beauty forever entwined with the horror of her end. Over 75 years have passed since that January morning. The optimistic glow of 1947 has long faded into the sepia tones of history. Yet the mystery of the Black Dahlia persists, an open wound in the annals of true crime. Why does this particular case, among countless others, continue to haunt us. Why does the name Elizabeth Short, forever linked to such a brutal tableau, still echo with such chilling resonance? Perhaps it is the sheer barbarity of the act, the seemingly ritualistic nature of the mutilation, or the parade of false leads and tantalizing suspects that has kept the story alive, a cold ember in the city's dark heart, refusing to be extinguished. This investigation attempts to peel back the layers of sensationalism and time, seeking the truth behind the enduring horror of the Black Dahlia. Name Elizabeth Short, forever linked to such a brutal tableau, still echo with such chilling resonance. Perhaps it is the sheer barbarity of the act, the seemingly ritualistic nature of the mutilation, or the parade of false leads and tantalizing suspects that has kept the story alive, a cold ember in the city's dark heart, refusing to be extinguished. This investigation attempts to peel back the layers of sensationalism and time, seeking the truth behind the enduring horror of the Black Dahlia. The Black Dahlia, a Hollywood nightmare. Introduction: The macabre discovery. The morning of January 15, 1947, dawned with a deceptively clear, crisp air over Los Angeles. It was a city still basking in the glow of post-war optimism, its aspirations stretching towards a golden future, a future built on celluloid dreams and burgeoning suburbs. Yet within the nascent sprawl of Leimert Park, a darker, more primal reality was about to violently assert itself. Betty Bersinger, a young mother pushing her 3-year-old daughter, Anne, in a stroller, had embarked on a familiar walk along South Norton Avenue. Her path often led through a vacant lot, overgrown with weeds, a shortcut between homes in the wider, paved world. It was in this unremarkable patch of urban neglect, amidst the brittle stalks and dust, that Betty's gaze fell upon something anomalous, something pale against the muted earth. At first she thought it was a discarded mannequin, perhaps a prop from a Hollywood studio, callously dumped. The sight was unusual, certainly, but not immediately alarming in a city prone to the surreal. She took a step closer, then another, the stroller's wheels crunching softly on the dry earth, the child oblivious in her seat. The clarity of the morning light, often a source of comfort, now became an unforgiving illuminator of atrocity. The mannequin was not a mannequin. It was a woman, or what remained of one. The body lay precisely bisected at the waist, a clean surgical cut that left the upper and lower halves separated by a space of nearly a foot. The skin, drained of blood, had taken on a chilling, almost porcelain pallor, starkly contrasting with the dark pubic hair, which had been methodically plucked clean. Excisions had been performed with a meticulous anatomical precision. Sections of flesh had been removed from the breasts, the thighs, the buttocks. But it was the face that seared itself into the memory of all who saw it, whether in person or in the grim photographs. From the corners of the mouth, a ghastly incision stretched towards the ears, creating a rictus grin, a Glasgow smile that distorted the features into an expression of perpetual, silent agony. There was no blood at the scene, only the sterile, shocking white of exposed bone and tissue, a testament to a killer who had worked elsewhere, deliberately cleaning and preparing his victim before depositing her as a macabre, public spectacle. The immediate impact on Los Angeles was seismic. The city, still buzzing with servicemen returning home, aspiring actors chasing stardom, and an influx of new residents, was suddenly forced to confront a horror that transcended the screen. This wasn't the staged violence of a film noir. This was real, raw, and incomprehensibly brutal. Police swarmed the scene, their movements a frantic counterpoint to the body's still, posed silence. Within hours, the news spread like a contagion through the burgeoning media landscape. Newspapers, eager for sensationalism, leapt at the opportunity, their headlines screaming of the werewolf murder, and soon after the more enduring, chilling moniker, the Black Dahlia. The city, aspiring to project an image of glamour and opportunity, was instead gripped by a fear both palpable and profound, haunted by the specter of a killer who had chosen to make such an abominable statement. Over 75 years have now passed since that horrific discovery. Generations have lived and died. Forensic science has evolved beyond recognition. Yet the question of who committed this heinous act, and why, persists with an almost supernatural tenacity. Why, amidst countless other unsolved cases, does the mystery of Elizabeth Shor, the woman who became the Black Dahlia, continue to fascinate, to horrify, and to elude definitive resolution? It is a question that drags us back into the shadows of a bygone era, into the heart of a city that, beneath its shimmering facade, held, and perhaps still holds, a darkness more profound than any silver screen production could conjure. The glamour, the promise of reinvention that Lowe's angels whispered to the hopeful, was a potent lure in the post-war years. For Elizabeth Shor, born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1924, it was an irresistible siren song. Her early life offered little hint of the notoriety that would consume her name. A father who vanished, only to reappear years later, cast a nascent shadow over her childhood. Asthma led to spells in warmer climates, fostering a sense of displacement, a readiness to drift. High school unfinished, waitressing jobs endured, she yearned for the shimmering escapism of the silver screen, a world far removed from the mundane reality of Medford, Massachusetts. She was one of countless young women drawn by the city's incandescent glow, unaware of the abyssal darkness that lay coiled beneath its surface. Elizabeth Shor arrived in California in 1943, a striking figure with dark hair, arresting blue eyes, and a figure that turned heads. She possessed an undeniable allure, often seen in black, a color that would tragically define her posthumous image. Yet her life in Lowe's Angels was far from the Hollywood dream she had chased. It was a transient existence, a perpetual motion between cheap rooms, shared apartments, and fleeting stays in hotels across Hollywood, San Diego, and Long Beach. She worked sporadically, a waitress, a sometimes model, but never seemed to anchor herself. Her relationships were equally ephemeral, a string of boyfriends, many of them military men, some brief flirtations, others more intense but ultimately without permanence. She was a nomad in a city that devoured rootlessness, a beautiful, vulnerable face in a crowd where anonymity could be both a shield and a curse. The final days of Elizabeth Shor remained shrouded in a fog of conjecture and half-remembered encounters. By early January 1947, she was in San Diego, reportedly with Major Matt Gordon. On January 9th, she made her way back to Lowe's Angels, checking into the opulent Biltmore Hotel in downtown, an architectural marvel that, ironically, would later become an unofficial landmark in the narrative of her disappearance. She was last seen alive, according to various accounts, leaving the Biltmore lobby later that day, or perhaps by friends at a nearby bar. The crucial 6-day chasm between her last confirmed sighting on January 9th and the horrific discovery of her body on January 15th remains the agonizing heart of the mystery. Where did she go? Who did she meet? What transpired in those lost hours? The answers, if they ever existed, evaporated into the smog-tinged air of 1947 Lowe's Angels, leaving behind only the chilling resonance of absence. It was in the aftermath of her brutal death that Elizabeth Shor, the aspiring actress, the transient beauty, was transmuted into something else entirely, a macabre icon, etched forever into the public consciousness not by her life, but by her terrifying end. The name, the Black Dahlia, did not originate with her killer, nor with the stoic police force. It was a media creation, a lurid shorthand coined by the asterisk Los Angeles Herald Express asterisk, and swiftly adopted by other ravenous newspapers. Inspired by the popular 1946 film noir, The Blue Dahlia, and compounded by her reported preference for black clothing and her dark hair, the moniker was an immediate sensation. It was a stroke of journalistic dark genius, instantly transforming a brutal murder victim into a marketable legend. This sensationalism, however, came at a cost. The nickname, designed to sell papers, inadvertently stripped Elizabeth Short of her humanity, replacing her complex, yearning existence with a stark, simplified image of tragic glamour. She became a character in a grim drama, her personhood subsumed by the very horror that defined her end. The relentless drumming of this media narrative hammered her into a permanent symbol of Hollywood's dark underbelly, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. Yet beneath the layers of sensationalism and macabre fascination, the true Elizabeth Short remained, a woman whose dreams had drawn her into the city's heart, only to be consumed by its hidden, predatory depths that, even today, still hint at a pervasive, underlying sickness, a shadowy architecture of malevolence that Detective Kine would come to understand was not unique to 1947, but merely evolved. The city's glitter was then, as it is now, a fragile veil over profound, enduring darkness. Profound, enduring darkness. It was this very darkness, a nascent, unacknowledged architecture of malevolence, that first truly revealed itself to the glittering, post-war promise of Los Angeles on the morning of January 15, 1947. The air in Leimert Park was crisp, imbued with the faint scent of eucalyptus and the dry whisper of winter grass. The city was stirring, shedding its slumber, unaware that its innocence was about to be irrevocably shattered. At approximately 10:30 a.m., a mother named Betty Bersinger, out for a morning stroll with her 3-year-old daughter, navigated a dirt path off South Norton Avenue. Ahead, amidst a tangle of weeds and parched earth, she saw what initially appeared to be a discarded mannequin. Its pallid skin, she thought, was stark against the muted greens and browns of the overgrown lot. Then a chilling detail caught her eye, the black hair carefully parted and a distinct, unnatural angle to the form. As she drew closer, the macabre tableau solidified into a horrific reality. The object was not plastic but flesh. It was the body of a young woman, severed precisely at the waist, bisected with a clinical precision that defied the brutal act. The two halves were placed together, deliberately, almost artfully, as if presenting a distorted anatomical display. Limbs were splayed, but with a strange, unsettling symmetry. What seized Betty Bersinger, and soon the world, with a cold grip of terror was not merely the bisection, but the mutilations to the face. From each corner of the victim's mouth, a jagged 6-centimeter cut extended towards the ears, creating a grotesque permanent rictus, the infamous Glasgow smile. Blood, having long since drained, left the skin an unsettling ivory, a canvas for the unseen artist of horror. The shockwave was instantaneous. News of the discovery, relayed in hushed, then frantic, tones across police radios, quickly bled into the city's vibrant tapestry. This was not merely another murder. It was an act of deliberate, theatrical cruelty, an affront to the burgeoning optimism of a nation emerging victorious from global conflict. Post-WWII Los Angeles, brimming with returning servicemen, aspiring actors, and newfound prosperity, suddenly found its dazzling facade cracked, revealing a predatory underbelly. The media, a hungry beast in itself, pounced with unparalleled veracity. Details, both accurate and embellished, saturated the airwaves and newspaper headlines, igniting a public frenzy. The victim, initially unidentified, became a tragic cipher. But even after her identity was established, Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress, the horror remained. Her story, though quickly overshadowed by the brutality of her end, became synonymous with the case. She would be christened the Black Dahlia by a press eager for a compelling narrative, a name that would echo through decades, attaching itself to the city's darkest legend. Over 75 years have passed since that morning in Leimert Park. Yet the mystery of the Black Dahlia persists, refusing to recede into the annals of cold cases. It is a persistent whisper in the city's collective consciousness, a perpetual question mark hanging over its gilded history. Why does this specific, unsolved murder continue to captivate, to haunt? Perhaps it is because Elizabeth Short's gruesome end exposed a truth about the city itself, that beneath the glamour and the promise, there existed a chilling, calculating evil, an unseen architect of horror whose true identity, like the city's deeper secrets, remains veiled. A pervasive shadow that kind understood had only evolved, never truly vanished.